Hey, everybody. We'll be starting in about 3 or 4 minutes. We'll start in about a minute.
Brian Zitzow is on the call. Haven't talked to you in a while, man.
Eric, I'm going to go ahead and start unless you have something that you want to say first or.
Well, I don't want to be redundant. I guess you'll probably cover this, but I just thought I would say that welcome to week 4. We're at the halfway point, which is really cool. And this is an important week because there's been a lot of content presented over the last 4 weeks. And it's starting to this week is when it's starting to tie together and form kind of the big picture of the methodology. And so what I think one of my asks for you is, 1, make sure you're up to date on all the content in the LMS. And then 2, ask us questions. Ask us a lot of questions right now because we really want to know what is unclear, and how we can, make things as clear as possible as far as the methodology that we're presenting, but then also as far as moving forward, because moving forward, things are going to be happening fast. As we're starting over the next couple of weeks, we're going to start to introduce the pitch, and the components of the pitch are all built off of the concepts in the LMS over the last 4 weeks. And so you start seeing that to come together. But the pitches are coming up soon. We got some cool talk this Thursday about pitches, and then next Thursday you're actually going to start your first practice pitch in front of our mentors. So that's kind of my intro. Welcome to week 4. Get caught up on the LMS. Ask us a lot of questions. We want to help, and things are going to be moving fast here. So you got to stay focused. So that's about it from me, Paul.
Okay, well, that's my whole presentation. Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 4, and let's just get started. As Eric alluded to, we're going to work on focusing right now, and it's kind of an exciting week for us. And the first thing that I wanted to talk about is just the idea that there is a lot of material coming out that has come out this week, and I'm hoping that you're seeing that it's sort of accumulating. But when I say a lot of material, what we're really talking about is there's a lot of really cool skills that you can learn here. And what I want to invite you to do is kind of redouble your efforts to look at them and kind of look at them as skills that you can use for leading up to your startup hustle. But you need to also recognize that this is stuff that you can keep. I mean, it's useful in lots of different settings, and I'm hoping that you see the utility in that, and that if you take the time to learn right now, you're going to be able to use them for a long time to come. So I heard that last Thursday went really well. I'm hoping that you all got a chance to participate, and what you were working on was trying to stretch your possibilities. And what we're up to right now is really kind of a cool part where we're taking possibilities and we're starting to work with them and to refine them, and maybe even starting to make the list a little bit shorter and starting to create some sense of which ones you like the best. And then one of my favorite parts is actually starting to build business assumptions, which is the first form of your business model. So there's a lot of parts that are interesting and as I mentioned, good skills to build. And what Craig and I wanted to do tonight is to sort of go through those, especially just some of the highlights that we think are important. But I need to tell you that what we're not doing is going through the whole week 4 LMS module. You'll need to go back and look at that, because some of the stuff that's pretty self-explanatory, we're skipping. We're just going to cover some of the higher level concepts so that you get a chance to sort of see it twice. Okay. Let's start off with the idea of finding gold. You may have already seen this picture. This is, I'm going to put the whole thing on here. This is a representation of your first possibilities on the far left-hand side, and how you've gone through different ways to stretch your possibilities. You've worked on brainstorming. You've done lists. You've worked with your customer lens to try to look at different ways to um, to shape your possibilities. But now the next part is actually going through and let me back that up. There we go. What we're actually going through is stretching and narrowing and stretching and narrowing. And the idea right now is that we're starting to narrow. Now, keep in mind that your work while you were stretching and narrowing, you started with a possibility you really liked, and then you worked your way towards some other ideas, maybe something that you picked up last week. But one thing that one person in Startup Hustle mentioned is that, gosh, I went through the stretching possibilities process, but I ended up back with my same idea. We want to make sure you understand that that's okay, because once you get to the pitch, one of the sharks or whoever is in your audience, they're going to say, did you consider doing this? And this is a place where you're going to be able to say, yes, I did. I considered it, but for this reason and that reason, I ended up going with this possibility. It just makes you that much stronger. So, Craig, do you want to take off for this part?
So as you saw in the LMS, there's an iterative cycle where you discover your customer, and from that you create possibilities, and then you can start to see the benefits. And that stretches us and creates more and more things that we could possibly do. Sometimes that feels overwhelming because, wow, now I have all these possibilities. Go back, Paul. Outside of that, so that's what a skilled innovator does. Possibilities are endless. The things you could do, you discover, you just keep stretching your thinking and just being inspired every day. That's what you do as a skilled innovator. But around that, we start to put tools, and we've given you just a few practical tools that a skilled business person would do. So it's great to just keep stretching our possibilities, but at some point we have to be practical and be good business people. So what you do then is take all those possibilities and you prioritize them. You prioritize them by the needs, and then you use some filtering mechanisms, and we give you a couple. We give you the FAVE mechanism, which is a way to rate. And then after that, you enumerate your features and benefits, and then narrow that down to functionality in 10 words or less. That cycle, both of these cycles continue. So I urge you that after you launch your business, that just focus on your customer, discovering your customers, expanding your possibilities of things you could do for them. Just keep growing those lists, and then just take your business passes at it and figure out which one you're going to do for your customers next. This is a ebb and flow that creates that wave that was on the previous slide. So that's how it works. Never stop innovating, never stop stretching, never stop being inspired, but then just put a process around it that narrows it down and makes your best business choices. Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead and grow this one out. So we have a scale that is unique to us. That's we call FAVE. And you saw in the LMS that there's a rating schedule and a spreadsheet that we use to see whether your possibilities are feasible, achievable, valuable, and enduring. Feasible means, can it be done? Achievable with our time and resources, and we don't yet know our resources and time, but valuable is what's the value proposition to the customer? What value are they going to get? And enduring is it will last. Back up. Just one thing on enduring. The reason that we put enduring in the scale is because we want you to have a vibrant business ongoing. So, I can think of many possibilities to fulfill needs that might be a 1 or 2 year thing. Heck, we're in a drought here, and I might be betting my business on some drought technology that as soon as it rains for a couple of years, I'll have missed my cycle. Maybe I'll come back and it'll be enduring, but that's just an example of why we put that in there. What we do is we tend to rate them from 0 to 5, feasible, achievable, valuable, enduring, and then see what floats, and the good stuff floats, and The other stuff doesn't. So keep those ideas and possibilities, but just keep them prioritized less. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry, I get fired up, so I'll try to slow down a bit. Is this you, Paul?
Yeah, this is a really cool exercise. This is not a 5-minute pitch. This is just a 5-minute startup exercise. And this is something that we'd like for you to do and practice. So understand where you're sitting right now is you should have more than one possibility. And with that possibility, what we'd like you to do is take a little time and put together a pitch. Put your ideas in a customer, solution, and value framework. This is my customer, this is my solution, and this is the value that it brings, which brings you towards a business proposition. And what happens is you're able to sort of real quickly articulate what your possibility means. And what we want you to do is not only put that together, but start doing these little mini pitches to your friends, family, people who you would like to get their feedback. Try it out on them and try out more than one, hopefully like 3 of them or something, and say, what do you think? This is a really good way, or maybe it's a good way, and maybe another way for you to start sorting out your possibilities and figuring out which ones are getting traction. So here's what we're asking is work on this, and at the beginning of our get together on Thursday, we're going to break up into small groups again and ask you to give your customer solution value 5-minute startup exercise to each other, and just try it out. There's 2 reasons to do it. One is just to see what people think, and 2, this is your first chance to start a pitch. And if your business is successful, you'll be doing lots and lots of these pitches, so it's a good place to start.
So the another thing that you'll see in this week is that we want you to start thinking of the actual benefits. So from here, until this point, we really focused in on the customer, the needs, and the possible things that we can do. So the benefits we haven't really talked about too much, and this is where your business starts to become a reality. Back up, Paul.
Yeah, it's advancing on me.
So this is where you take a possibility and you start looking at the benefits and the gains and the improvements and any kind of measurements that you might do to measure success. And you'll do it possibility by possibility. You'll look at the needs and the tasks and the jobs, and you'll think through your possibility. Maybe you've got your top 3 or top 5, and you'll just think through the possibilities and really start to enumerate the benefits and the gains that might happen. This stuff turns into valuable marketing information and valuable pitch material later in your startup, and when you launch, this is what you sell. So again, the lens puts it all together so you can see it in one place: the persona that's in the center, the facts about them, and then the needs and the emotional needs, bias, and pain. So that's where you're going to head in this week. So another thing you'll learn about is once you've prioritized your solution, and maybe you have your top 2 or top 3, it's time to start thinking about the features of that solution. And we like to lay this out in a table called a FAB, which is a features and benefits. It's a pretty classic product management trick that
Sorry, dude.
Yeah, no problem. That lets you lay out, your top 10, top 20 features that you may have, maybe more, and then the benefits of each one. What you're going to do later as you're doing your startups, you may find yourself having to do trade-offs between feature one, what am I going to be able to get done in phase one, what I'm going to be able to done in phase two. The fab will help you there. Also, in front of, it'll be a backup slide in front of your detailed pitch decks. And you'll do post startup hustle. We'll show you what those decks will look like at the end of the startup hustle. But these kind of features and benefits will be a backup. Invariably, somebody who you're trying to get funding from or trying to sell to will want to see it. I don't tend to lead with it because that it doesn't make you 10 times better. It makes you 15, 20, 30% better. So this is a very important thing for you to do. You'll manage your products with a fab list. You'll look at the benefit that you're going to market to from a fab list, and you'll make your priority decisions from a fab list. Okay, Paul?
So here's something that I hope looks familiar to you, which is the customer universe that you've worked on. And we introduced it so that you could start to figure out, it could be this customer in the center of my universe, or it might be this other one. And we had some really good discussion about how do we identify who the customer is. But this is a really cool place to show you, or to point out that this customer universe has other applications. We use it as a visual way to start talking about where, first of all, we could use it for our charging models. We can use it for not only charging, but the pricing models. We can look at these lines that are connecting and figure out how are we going to distribute to this particular kind of a customer versus this other one, and even who the buyers are in terms of the amount of money that they might be able to contribute, which you can see by the size of the bags of money. It's a handy platform, and this is just a sort of an imprecise take on how your business model is going to be shaped up, but it is it's kind of a useful platform for figuring out those business assumptions.
So the business operating assumptions, as Paul said, it's the way we start out in a business operating assumption is we can discover our business using the customer universe, and it doesn't need to be very precise. So we start out with a high level of precision or a low level of precision, and then we validate with customers. What we're trying to get done through this series of steps is for you to get a picture of what your business model might look like. So we have a few tools that we go through, and we'll hit those here in a second. The first one is just placing where you suspect you could get money from. Now that you've laid out your customer universe and you had an idea of customers that may not be there, or you may not have thought were there before, you just have a take on where the money might be. So, we place these bags of money. They're just a large bag of money, medium bag of money, and small bag of money. I haven't even validated it yet, but I have suspicion that in this case, the employer has a lot of money and the employee doesn't have much money. So, and the spouse isn't going to be willing to pay for my product at all, and the bank's not going to be willing to pay for my product at all. So this little device lets us begin to see how our business model might be. We'll go ahead, Paul. Now, it turns out that there's only 8 ways to charge people. So I had a really bright, just amazing person teach me this 15, 20 years ago. These are the only 8 ways that things are charged for. And you might think that other things are there, but they're really it. Unit sales, license fees, professional fees, transaction fees, subscription fees. You'll have to go back, Paul.
There we go.
Franchising fees, advertising fees, and usage. So if you think about all the transactions you do in your life, they're one of these 8 buckets. And so we're going to put those on our business operating assumptions. So we had the bags of money, and we're going to just post which ones we think might be likely. And if we think there's value, but we're not going to charge somebody, we're going to put no charge. So there's only 9 things that are charging related that you'll put on your business operating assumptions. Go ahead, Paul. As you're going to see, like look at the customer there that's in the middle, the guy with the glasses and the blue shirt. We might be able to, he has a small bag of money, and we might be able to get it unit sales or subscriptions. And I look at these like cards, and right now we don't know which one we're going to play, but we have the possibility of playing a unit sales card and a subscription card on the employer, and we have a possibility on the employer, of doing a license fee. And then maybe on the spouse, we'll deliver her an app that is no charge. And you can see right there, we get a picture of where the money might be from. We call finding the bag of money, and the charging model that could be used for each one of them. Now remember, we haven't validated any of this, but it's our first take that when we go back and do customer validation, we will be able to say to that employer, we want to license this to you. Would you be willing to it? So you design that conversation. Think in terms of health insurance. It's kind of a funny model where employer pays for health insurance. I don't know if any of us would have really seen the value and put the bag of money, but the employer had the bag of money. They had the need to attract employees, and health insurance, employee-based health insurance for years and years and years worked that way, and the employee put a little bit of money in as well. So we followed the bags of money, even though we weren't sure where the business was going to come. They put those up, and then you would have gone and validated it, and then tried to make a sales model off of it. Go ahead, Paul. We wanted to give you an idea of distribution channels, and you're going to want to have a take of the distribution channels of how you're going to get your product to your customer. This is a view of the differing distribution channels. You may not know at this point. You don't have to know how it's actually going to be distributed by the time you're pitching in front of somebody, an angel or somebody for money. You're going to probably want to have an idea. It's okay. We'll stay on this one, Paul.
Sorry.
Yeah. So that list of distribution channels is in the LMS. You can download it. You can look at it, and think hard about how you're going to get it to your customers. You might have thought the whole time you were going to do a direct sales model, and then you might have had a value-added reseller that you can go to a VAR, and the value-added reseller is the one who's going to distribute it. You have to back up, Paul. You're killing me.
Yeah.
Then what we do is we put those on our business operating assumptions, and we're starting to form a real picture here of maybe the spouse is going to get an app for no charge. We're going to do a direct sale or a retail play for our actual customer, and we're going to license something to our employer. Okay, now we can move. The next thing we're going to do is take a quick view about how much they're going to pay. This is a little bit sticky. In the part we're at with the Startup Hustle, we haven't done a lot of customer validation on price points. So what we want to do is have a range. So we like this lightning round that we use for how much someone's going to pay. So this is what we do. We basically we fire 3 questions, give people 10 seconds to give us a range. And, we start, how much would you pay for this? What's the most you would pay? Like, let's say it was at the highest end retailer. What was the most you'd pay? And then the bottom line is, what's the lowest price if you had to have everybody buy it? And all we're trying to get is an operating range that, from a dozen people that they feel the price is going to be. Later, after post-Startup Hustle, you'll find that you have either inward out pricing, and pricing is a very complex subject. I could speak for weeks on it, or you'd have outward in. Inward out is, without getting too technical, is, what's my cost to develop it? What's my margin I want? Then I set my price. And then, but all these are things you'll do later. Or outward in is what could the market bear? And then that's going to be my price, and I have to make sure it covers my margin and my costs. So for right now, for the operating assumptions, you're just going to have a take, put your price ranges on the business operating assumption, just poll some people and do a lightning round, and this begins to form. And you might have your idea of what they would pay. Let's get them on there. That's really what we're trying to do. Go ahead, Paul. Okay. So the next thing that's really important is that we're going to use the customer universe to identify two very important actors in our business. The first is the strategic design target, and the second is the strategic business target. So I know I had a lot of questions about this when we were going through customer lenses, where people were wondering about, when am I going to figure out who I'm designing for this school student, and I'm going to sell to a school, or I'm going to have government funding. So this is how we do it. We identify this notion of a strategic design target and a strategic business target, and we're going to place them and rank them on our business operating assumptions. Go ahead, Paul. So we kind of start with the strategic design target, and we look at the people in our customer universe, and we ask the question, if I could only design, if I had to have one person that I had to impress, really impress out of this customer universe in order to make my sale, which one would it be? And then I force rank those people. And what you're going to do is you're going to set the majority of your design around that customer lens. And this is going to help to get you focused, because you've decided they are your strategic design target. Now, you could say, in this case, that's the number 1 and number 2 that I'm going to put my dollars on. But when making a trade-off to satisfy the strategic design target or the second priority strategic design target, you'll always put your dollars towards your strategic design target. And you got to choose. And you're going to validate it again later, but you got to choose which one by asking that question. If I had to impress one person, which one would it be? Go ahead, Paul. Okay, so now we have we have to place on there the strategic business target, and we might say that it's the employer. He's the guy with the largest bag of money, and I think we can get that through. This you'll place that. Do the same thing. You'll force rank the customer universe for strategic business target. Back up, Paul. And then you kind of have an idea of your business model, what we call business operating assumptions. Now, remember that, now you can go ahead, that this business operating assumption is just our first take. And it's a framework that lets us ask the right questions when we validate later. It also lets us begin in our pitches to talk about who has the money, who's our strategic design target. I guess we're playing random slides tonight.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So that's what the business operating assumptions do. I flew through them. Take your time in the LMS and walk through it. And I do see we have a lot of questions on it. Go ahead, Paul.
So business similes, this is actually a part that I really like doing. And a simile is when you say that you're using a business simile, what you're actually trying to get at is, my business is like this other particular business for a particular feature. So my e-commerce business is going to have a similar platform to the platform that a famous online retailer uses. So this is something that is really fun to do, and you can, there's no magic to listing out 10, but list out a number of other businesses that you have seen that may have features similar to you, and then kind of break them up by looking at, well, how do they make their money, who pays for it, and how is it distributed. So let's say that we had a new business called Hacker Lab, and I came up with 10 businesses on the left-hand side here of this that represents to me features of my new business called Hacker Lab. So here's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use a particular high-end gym in Sacramento that has a lot of people who go there, and it has a really good reputation. So I want to look at their particular subscription model and so forth. That the customer in this case was that they target is higher income, and they have a particular interest in health. And this is one of Craig's 8 ways of charging, is that they have a subscription model, and they also teach classes. So that might be a transactional revenue source. How do they distribute? Well, they have 24-hour access, and they try to put their gyms near where their customers are, and that may show me things about my business that I want to emulate. I won't read the other ones, but just notice that there are different kinds of businesses that actually can teach you something about your own. Okay, well, there we have it. Eric kind of mentioned at the beginning that of what's happening on Thursday. It should be a really fun evening for you, and I encourage you to attend. And again, just to repeat myself, we'd really like to have you think about your possibilities and do a CSV pitch, mini pitch, I guess, so that you can try out your possibilities on people that are also doing the same thing. Then we'll try to keep that to a fairly short amount of time, because right after that, you'll have your mentor 1 or 2 presentations. Okay, here we have it.
So I'm not sure, was that clear to everybody that, bring one of your possibilities you want to talk about with small teams? We'll break up and be able to language them to our customer solution value pitches to our each other, like we did possibilities the other day, and then from there we'll hear tales from the pitch from the mentors. And then just a real quick one on the program. Next week is really cool. So I'm going to give you a preview of next week. Next week we're going to talk about competition. So you'll learn how to do a competitive assessment and create a competitive Twitter statement about how you compete, which you'll use in your pitches. And then we're going to do just a really cool thing. We're going to build our value proposition. You're going to have a template that tells you how the best marketing guys in the world can build a value proposition, and you'll use all the customer lens stuff that you learned and build a value proposition that way. We got a really cool thing called the Pirate Future. I'm not going to give that one away. So I want you to go watch that one about what your declaring your pirate future is. And then we'll prepare you for your first pitch, your customer solution value and business operating assumptions. So, we're going to build slowly your ability to language and talk about your company. Okay. So questions, let me see. I may be a little behind because I talked way too much in this one, but let me get a couple of the questions out. Okay, is this week in Midtown or Rockland? Midtown, I think, was answered on the LMS. Do I have an example of what a fave would look like? I thought I put one in the LMS, or I thought I put a spreadsheet in the LMS that had a fave assessment template in, and I looked, and I don't think I did. So I don't have one. I have one on my computer. Let me see if I can get that out in I'll put it in the files either for week 4 or week 5. So let me see if I can get that put up there probably tomorrow, Thursday morning. By the way, it's really not very hard to do. You can imagine it's a spreadsheet that has possibility 1, possibility 2, possibility 3, feature, right? I'm sorry, and then the fave things across the top, valuable and enduring. And I just score them 0 to 5. As simple as that. But I'll put that template up there, Jim. Okay, so there's a question on what do we mean by value? Because value is a term that's used many ways in our society. So it says, can you please explain a little more about value? Do you mean the value that the customers are willing to pay for, or what they're going to pay for it? And we had an answer which nailed it. Value is how it improves or enhances someone's life. So it's a statement of benefit for the for using the product that usually speaks to how you're overcoming the functional needs, emotional needs, biases, or those, all the things on the bottom of your lens. I hope that cleared it up. Did it clear it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not price.
Yeah, it's not the price. Next, do you know where I can find trends in the charging models, i.e. freemium? Also, is there something that shows which charging model has worked best historically for specific products? So I don't know any trends. I do that using business similes and competitor similes. So we'll go when we study our competition, we'll figure out how they're charging. Sometimes you can't get it, but we'll study how they're charging, and then you'll model your charging models after that. Doesn't have to be the same. Oftentimes you'll use it as a competitive difference. You see that a lot of times, people bidding for hotel rooms instead of, hotel rooms posting their prices. But charging models, remember that the base charging models are just those eight things. And then all of them, like something like freemium. What is that? Is that a charging model? It's a marketing model. It's a sales and marketing model where I give away free until you buy the premium, either a subscription or a unit sale of a premium. So I don't know how to answer that question. I just look at business similes. If you go look on the internet and just start looking at how other companies charge, that's the best way that I know. Paul, do you know of any trends?
No, I don't.
How did you decide outward in pricing for B2B? Even friendly customers rarely divulge what they are willing to pay, and sometimes they may not know. Yeah, I lived in an enterprise B2B environment for a long time, and if you're competing against public companies, one of the things you do is look at their products and services, look at their what they've divulged, and then sometimes they'll tell you in their quarterlies what their split of services, revenue by services and products are, and if they're a small enough company, you can get an idea. I do a lot of G2 intelligence stuff, working directly with customers, getting to know the people inside the business you're trying to sell to, and then you take them out for a drink, and sometimes they'll tell you. If it doesn't work, do it in an inward out. Set your price, set your margins that you'd be happy to live with, and go for it. And then if you don't win, you can often ask them, is it based on price or is it based on features? And if they tell you it's price, then you might have to adjust. Let me see if I missed any others. Sorry for the delay.
Why do your golf clubs need help?
Yeah, I think it's the person swinging them.
You mean not swinging them?
Yeah.
That's probably the problem.
And here's a great one. It comes from Paul. How can Paul run a multi-million-dollar company but not run PowerPoint?
I had a bug. I had a bug in my system.
What kind of margins do you want to hit? Well, it kind of depends on the industry. You can look and find industry standard margins. Paul, why don't you talk about medicine and what kind of margins they were running in some of the healthcare things, and then I'll talk about a software business margins.
Well, medicine's kind of weird because pricing is oftentimes tied to what it's an outward in thing where it's tied to what people are willing to pay, and people meaning mostly insurance companies. So that's a strange pricing model. But if you're looking for like a retail pricing model for, let's say, clothes, it might be a different margin setup than furniture. So you're going to have to, there is no general rule of thumb. You're going to have to take a look at what others in your industry are using for their numbers.
So in the software business, we have software and services, and we try to set my margins at about 30% when I'm building my pricing, and that's kind of what we do for a blend of software and services, and it's a good one. And you can actually see, so if you're in a particular industry, you can go out and look at the public companies that are in there, look at their margins, their financials are all out there for you to see, and companies like Gartner and other companies like that will tell you what you can see what they recommend are margins for a particular kind of business, but it varies by the industry you're in. And just a word on that. A lot of times developed markets, when you're competing in a developed market, the margins get really thin. So if you're competing on selling paper, the margins are very, very thin. If you're competing on selling software, they're a little bit higher. So I have unique software and it gets a little bit higher. So it kind of depends on where the maturity is of the market you're in. Okay, when you talk about a possibility, is that an entire business idea or a feature? Great question. So to us, possibilities are a problem-solution pair. So if a customer has a need to have a pointer device, and they have pain because they can't get it done, and you have a solution one and solution a different solution for a pointer, which is maybe a touch screen. Those are two different possibilities. Doesn't mean a business. It's just something I could do to solve a need. Okay, hopefully I hit that. And then features are different than possibilities. So I'll yield out a possibility. I'll decide to go build that possibility out, and then I'll enumerate the features that will fulfill the specific needs that are in the customer lens. And remember not to just hit your functional needs. Hit your functional needs, emotional needs, and constraints. Can you guys give some examples of your possibilities? I have many. Do you want Business Composer's possibilities? Yeah, so I'll talk about examples of possibilities. Business Composer, we see that one of our customers is academia. Academia has a lot of intellectual property that they're generating. They have a need to turn students from students into people who want to be entrepreneurs. They have a lot of untapped intellectual property. So for me, the untapped intellectual property, I have a possibility where I could take some of the tools that you guys know about, and some that that Paul and I have in our arsenal, and create a program for pulling out intellectual property that a university might have created. It might be 3 years before the patent gets over, and then creating business possibilities around it, possibilities and businesses, and that's a possibility for us. Another possibility for us is taking what we know about enterprises, because enterprises want to innovate, they just don't know how. And so one problem space is that CEOs don't know how to, don't even know the game of innovation. So I have a possibility of consultancy gig for CEOs. I have a possibility of transforming companies because it takes a company transformation. So those are things that we think about. But I'll give you another example. I mentioned the drought one today. I was running today and looking at the line of the grass and thinking about water runoff of a grass. So, the problem is we can't waste water. The possibility is, how could I recycle water? So I could recycle it, put it right back into my sprinkler system, or I could recycle it and keep it in a big holding tank. I don't know yet what it is, but it's a possibility. It's on my possibility list. So I hope that helped. Seems like big businesses have experts to determine pricing strategies. Can you post resources on the LMS on how smaller businesses can develop a successful pricing strategy? I wasn't going to post a big pricing thing on the LMS, but I'll take a look at it and see. I have some resources that I might be able to post that'll help you. But it would be in week 8, week 7 or week 8. If you have a need earlier than that, please feel free to reach out to Eric, Dan, myself, and Paul, and we could go offline like we've done with many of you guys.
Something else to add to that for Vanessa's question is pricing. Just don't forget that pricing doesn't have to be all that precise right now. All you're trying to do is get a range, and take a look at the LMS on that. If you have what we call a take, do you have a take on what the price is going to be? Is it going to be other people can help you with that as well. Is like, I think it's going to be $50, but maybe the next person thinks it's going to be 75. So you create a range, but don't worry about the level of precision yet for your pricing strategy. That'll come in future pitches.
So think about that, Vanessa, because since you asked the question, if you created a range of $50 to $75, and then you figured out what what it's going to cost you to build your product, to develop it, to have it produced, to acquire it, to market, to acquire a customer. Once you stack all of those costs up, then you can tell whether there's enough money in it per unit that you're going to sell. And that's kind of the inward out kind of pricing. So set your range, and then as you get a little bit closer, you'll figure out the finances. And I'll just put a plug for Paul. One of the things that he does best in the world is really nail those finances. So as you guys get beyond the startup hustle, your focus is going to change from this to a pretty good business focus, and figuring out what your margins are going to be, and tracking all your expenses. So that's kind of what the evolution will be, moving you into business. Wow, did I miss any questions?
There's a question. Would you say a possibility is how to address / solve a customer need more?
Yeah, that's it. So in our terms, it's a problem, otherwise known as a customer need, and a solution, how to solve it. And it's a pair. Those two things together are a possibility. And don't get too hung up on that nomenclature, but what we want to do is just have this big list of things you could do to solve needs, and grow that. So just think about it. You'll get your first product out, and you're going to want to grow your business. You can always go back to your possibilities list. Okay, anything else? Anybody wants to offer to help, My clubs need it.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Ciao.
Guys, we'll see you on Thursday.